Hello everybody, welcome and welcome back. My name is Stacia and I'm just a girl on the internet who likes to talk about movies. And this week's movie is going to be the 1956 Marilyn Monroe movie, Bus Stop. And yes, for anybody wondering if I was going to continue my Marilyn Monroe diamond art, I am. I'm doing it in this video. Gonna do it little by little. There's no time limit on this. And if you watched my last video, you know I was supposed to talk about two Marilyn Monroe movies, and I cut it to just talking about the one, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. And so this video, we're going to do Bus Stop. And yes, since I'm going to be doing the diamond art at the same time, I'm going to put on these glasses so I can see the tiny numbers that correspond to the diamond art. And like I said last time, yes, I wildly underestimated the amount of time it would take to do this diamond art, so we'll see how far I get this time. Probably going to be doing this for a while. Just so you guys can see, this is what I've done. Still just that corner. I'm venturing more down into here. Gonna do this part during this video. The three, those are the beads that I have out right now to do that part. So the movie Bus Stop is the first film Marilyn does after she gets back from her year-long stint in New York studying at the Actors Studio. This is also her year-long embargo fighting with her movie studio so she could get a better contract. And Bus Stop stars, of course, Marilyn Monroe as Sherry, Don Murray as the cowboy trying to win her love as Bo Decker, Arthur O'Connell as Virgil Blessing. We have Betty Field as Grace, Eileen Heckart as Vera, and Hope Lange as Alma Duckworth in this movie. So in this movie, you have Bo and Virgil taking a bus from Montana down to the big city of Phoenix to go to the rodeo so Bo can compete in the rodeo. Virgil also does some, horse riding in the rodeo. And Bo is 21 years old, first time in the big city, first time really being around women also. And since he's 21, it's about time he found a girl to settle down with, and he says he's looking for his angel. And when he sees her, he'll know that she's his angel, and that will be the girl for him. Marilyn is in Phoenix. She is from a small town in the South, going to Phoenix, trying to get to Hollywood. And Phoenix is her stop for right now. She is a showgirl in a saloon in Phoenix, performing for the local men. And not that type of showgirl. She's the singing showgirl in this movie. And this movie Bo really forces himself, not in a rapey way. Bo sees Marilyn and he immediately, that's his angel, and he wants to literally possess her and basically kidnaps her to go back to Montana with him, grabs her after, harassing her for the couple of days that he is in Phoenix, and grabs her against her will on a bus to get her back to Montana so they can be married. It is portrayed as problematic in the movie. I have my issues with the storyline of this movie, but it is based on a Broadway play also. It is played for laugh instead of with all seriousness, but the other people around him are, basically telling him, you're kidnapping this girl. But he is blinded by the sight of his angel and just has to have her. And part of the movie is the other people convincing him, you're kidnapping this girl. Marilyn's character trying to get away. And then, of course, it ends in a very 1950s way of her, oh, he really does love me, and deciding, sure, I'll go with you back to Montana and we'll get married. The story is not without its problems, and I do wrestle with this story in this movie. But nonetheless, I do like the movie. It is my favorite Marilyn Monroe performance. Not necessarily my favorite Marilyn Monroe movie. That would be Some Like It Hot. But it is one of my favorite of her performances. And that is because you can really tell the work she did at the Actors Studio. And I liked her performances before this, but after this, you can really tell that she has grown as an actress. So like I said, Bus Stop was originally a Broadway play in 1955. It's nominated for 4 Tony Awards. It ran a little bit over a year on Broadway between 1955 and 1956. Albert Salmi played Beau on Broadway, the original production, and Kim Stanley played Sherry in the original Broadway production, which Marilyn based her performance actually on Stanley's performance, even modeling the accent that she has in the movie, which her character is supposed to be from, I believe, Alabama. So she adopts a Southern accent, which at times her Southern accent is very good. But then at other times in the movie, her Southern accent is a little bit too much over the top. And that really happens when what is happening in the movie is more over the top also. So the movie is directed by Joshua Logan, who actually really liked Marilyn Monroe. They got along really well. He basically knew how to handle her and was not intimidated by having her Actors Studio coaches on set either. So they worked really well together making this movie. It is even said that, the other actors in this movie knew that there was probably no other director that would put up with how Marilyn was conferring with her acting coaches during that time. But she was trying to take acting very seriously at this point. After her stint at the Actors Studio, she of course got very close to the people at the Actors Studio just to try to perfect her craft. And it's one of Marilyn's disappointments is they thought in the end when she saw the final cut of this movie that this movie was edited to make the Beau character look better. It actually took her a couple of years to realize that this is probably her best performance. And Don Murray, playing Beau, did actually get an Academy Award nomination. And personally, I don't think he's the best thing in this movie. I think his acting is over the top. This movie is kind of a combination between a comedy and a musical, and his performance lands on the comedic parts of it until about the very end where, the other people kind of step in and show him his wrongs. That's when he gets a little dramatic. It's my personal feeling that Marilyn Monroe is a lot better than him in this movie. And she had a lot to be proud of for her portrayal in this movie. But yeah, Don Murray was nominated that was the only nomination for this movie. And no, he did not win. That is the year Anthony Quinn won Best Supporting Actor for his role in the movie Lust for Life. He was also nominated against Anthony Perkins in Friendly Persuasion, Mickey Rooney in The Bold and the Brave, and Robert Stack in Written in the Wind. And just for reference, this is the year that Around the World in 80 Days won Best Picture, which, in my opinion, is one of the weakest Best Picture winners ever. Literally, besides Around the World in 80 Days, it could have went to The King and I, it could have went to Giant, it could have went to The Ten Commandments. The other one was Friendly Persuasion that was nominated, but it was up against those 3 movies, and Around the World in 80 Days won that year. It is mind-boggling to me, but that is off subject also. And Bus Stop was a big success in the year of 1956. It raked in more than $7 million at the box office. Marilyn Monroe's performance like I said, is a good performance, and it was kind of universally praised by critics that year also. A review in the Saturday Review of Literature wrote that Marilyn's performance effectively dispels once and for all the notion that she's merely a glamour personality. The New York Times praised the lead performances. They wrote, "Hold on to your chairs, everybody, and get ready for a rattling surprise. Marilyn Monroe has finally proved herself as an actress." So it's not just me that thinks she is good in this movie. And also, this movie is decidedly not a musical, which I know not every Marilyn Monroe movie is a musical, but it does have songs in it, and she does perform a song of That Old Black Magic, and the other notable song, and this is actually called the Bus Stop Song. Neither of them are big performances, and they're all in context of the storyline Marilyn Monroe, that is the song that her character performs as a showgirl in the saloon. And for the casting of this movie, this was really always a Marilyn Monroe vehicle for film, but the character of Beau had some interesting possibilities of people being cast. One was Elvis Presley, and the Colonel nixed that option, and the other was a largely unknown Clint Eastwood at that time, which of course neither of them would go on and play the character of Beau, but those would be two very interesting casting. But we do have Don Murray in his film debut, and Hope Lange is in this in her own film debut. She would be in place a couple of years after this. But also, Hope Lange being a blonde, she's still a blonde in this movie, right? She's still a blonde in this movie, but she is somewhat of a darker blonde because Marilyn Monroe didn't like the idea of her being a light blonde. She felt it competed with her own hair too much. So that is an interesting factor that Hope Lange had to darken her hair because Marilyn didn't want her blonde competing with Hope Lange blonde. And if Marilyn Monroe had her way, it would be Rock Hudson who played Beau in this film, but Rock Hudson didn't want to do it, and he ended up doing Giant that came out that year. But on a side note, for Don Murray and Hope Lange, they ended up falling in love while making this movie, and they did end up getting married at one point. Of course, they didn't stay married, but they did end up falling in love and getting married on the set of this movie. I think they were married from like shortly after they wrapped this movie to like 1962. And Marilyn Monroe's production company, Marilyn Monroe Productions, had a hand in making this picture, although this is not really a movie that they made. That company only really like made and produced one movie, The Prince and the Showgirl. But they did have a hand in the production of Bus Stop. And Marilyn got a lot of control over this movie, a first for any movie that she did in her career. But Don Murray would go on in his career to make a movie called The Sex Symbol in 1974. This movie co-starred Connie Stevens, and she played a kind of fictitious Marilyn Monroe type character in that movie. And Don Murray played a character of Senator Grant O'Neill that was based on the Kennedy brothers. So if you know your Marilyn Monroe lore, you know that the Kennedy brothers were both purportedly involved with Marilyn Monroe. So don't know if that was respectful for Don Murray to do. I mean, we all know that the legacy of Marilyn Monroe at this point has been very exploited, but it does keep her legend alive. So all in all, in my opinion, for Marilyn Monroe fans, Bus Stop is an essential movie of hers to watch. You can see her growth, her strength and acting just get bigger after she came back from that year-long break. It is a good movie to watch. The story is kind of hit or miss, like I said, for me. I do have problems with this story, but I mean, that is going to happen when you go back in time. This movie is some 70 years old, and 70 years ago we had different notions and different values of the role of females or how they were treated. And so you do have to grapple with that sometimes. It does not make this a bad movie. It is a good movie, and like I said, essential for Marilyn Monroe fans. But thank you for joining me while I talk about the 1956 movie Bus Stop with Marilyn Monroe. Like I said, one of her best performances. And for you wondering how far I got on the Marilyn Monroe diamond art in this video talking about the movie Bus Stop, not very far at all. I basically only got this little section done. So we will continue on doing this. This is going to take me seemingly the rest of my life, if not the rest of this year, but I will finish it eventually. I will go on making this. But I want to thank you all for being here and listening to me drone on about the movie Bus Stop. I really appreciate you guys being there. If you like movies as much as I do, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that like button, and leaving me a comment. But I love you all. See you next time. Bye.